everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do you tune into You don't do that. Well, either way, if you like what we're doing here, please like, subscribe, review, 5 stars, and help us get more listeners. Now on for the show. Every time, and right now we're on Instagram as well, so if you don't like the audio on Instagram, I'll say this a couple times, go over to YouTube, the Plug Your Holes YouTube, youtube.com/plugyourholes, or listen to it later, do what you got to do, live your life how you see fit. Today's it's kind of a big day, I have a funny feeling it's going to be a big week. It's not going to be all settled in one day, but welcome to Election Day 2020, the kind of the icing on the cake of a very strange year, and questioning whether to get stranger or remain the same. I have a judgment call question for you guys. This is kind of a weird one.
Okay.
I have color changing light bulbs on the outside of my house.
Got it.
They're smart bulbs.
Yes.
I overdo it a little bit, turn them orange during Halloween. Nothing after Halloween. There's not like a November color. So sure. I thought what? Huh?
I think there could be.
There could be.
I just don't know if it would translate well to lights.
Right.
Because to me, the November color is like a deep red.
Okay.
Like oak leaves when they, leaves turning, like that fall red, like a maple leaf color almost.
Okay.
But if you do that with your light, it just looks red.
It just looks red. It looks kind of like you look like you're just more Halloween-y.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I am a Halloween-y.
Yeah.
But
as we all are.
Right. By the way, full disclosure, so one thing that we did really a long time ago is we made Halloweenies as a promo picture for Plug Your Holes like 12 years ago. And I took a package of hot dogs and then painted them all like Frankenstein, and that was our promo for the year.
Cute.
Yeah, super cute.
Let's bring that back.
I'm down. We could do...
But with like way more hot dogs this time.
Like Costco quantities.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they're Nathan's or Hebrew National, I'm good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have standards. So I changed my colors on the outside of my house last night to red, white, and blue because I have 3 lights and there's 3 colors.
Okay.
But my wife was like, everybody's going to think we're like Trump supporters.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it after the fact, and I'm like, okay, I'm proud to be an American. I don't mean it in a super nationalistic way. I'm just like, I'm happy on the plot of land I grew up on. I'm happy that I live in this country, and I have great hopes for what it can be.
Sure.
So I think of like an American flag as just like, I'm proud of the country I live in.
Sure.
As I would be most likely any country I lived in.
Right.
And that's weird that like one side of the political spectrum can like own the colors of the whole country.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's because, I don't know, I'm not necessarily proud to be an American or necessarily to live here. Like, I just happen to live here, and like, sure, I enjoy lots of freedoms and such, but like, it's all kind of a crapshoot. It's kind of dog shit right now. So I get why like anyone doing overt patriotism kind of is in that camp, because like, yeah, sure, I could make the argument that like I like like it's like a house, got good bones, but needs some work.
Yeah, it definitely
needs some foundation repair,
some remodeling for sure.
Some remodeling. Yeah. So like, I'm not. I don't know. I do often get online, especially if I'm mad, which happens more often than not the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'll talk some shit. But yeah, overall it's fine. But that's because I've got that privilege. I'm living the good life.
Yeah, I mean, I think even the idea that you can have a publicly negative opinion about the country you live in says a lot about the kind of country you live in.
Yeah, but that's like bare minimum.
Right, but I'm saying a lot of places don't have that.
I feel like more places have that than don't.
Well, I lived in a place that didn't.
Sure. But I still think that more places have it than don't.
I'd have to do some research on that.
I don't know the numbers, but it just feels that way because I see people talking shit on everything, all their countries, always.
Right. And I also wonder how much of that freedom is afforded to them by just the anonymity of the internet.
True. True.
But yeah, so I kept them on.
Okay.
I don't really know how my neighborhood leans. There aren't really any political signs in my neighborhood.
Sure.
So I have to, urban, suburban, it could go either way. It probably does. It probably is a pretty mixed bag throughout the neighborhood.
Sure.
But yeah, I do know that one of my neighbor's kids did tell us that he likes Donald Trump. So
the kid did.
Yeah, he's 10.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sounds like we need to bully that kid.
I don't think that's the right answer.
Oh, okay. Well,
being that he has no voting power, I think.
Well,
we got about 8 years to.
According to
we have
Nickelodeon,
8 years to bully.
Kids count.
Kids count, right? And obviously, it's a reflection probably of parents.
Yeah.
He did say he likes his hair.
Well,
and
I can at least get behind that. It is fun to make fun of.
Yeah, it's a caricature of what real hair looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I was blackout drunk and had to draw hair from memory, I don't think it would look even half as bad as his real hair looks.
Oh yeah, I do. I would just go instantly for like the curly hair squigglies.
So, what's everybody gonna do? If he loses, what happens? What's all of the media and the comedy, quote unquote? It is hinged upon goofing on him. I think about this because I just goofed on him for his hair. Mm-hmm. What's everybody gonna do?
Nothing.
What are they gonna goof about?
Yeah,
I mean, people said that about like Bush and Obama.
But that was real. They had a hard time goofing on Obama until he was.
Obama, SNL kind of
all you could do is his cadence.
Yeah.
Like
let me be clear.
Yeah. It's,
but
but that's about it.
That's not the same thing as really, really goofing on somebody.
Yeah, and I wasn't a huge fan of the Jim Carrey one.
No, you mean his Joe Biden impression or whatever? Yeah.
Have you been watching it, like the newer ones?
No, I didn't see anything from this weekend.
So it's kind of funny. I really think it's funny, but I see how it can balance where sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure if this is funny. Is it because I just really like this show that I find it funny?
And I have a disconnect. Like you and I talk about SNL relatively often, and I don't find the stuff on SNL nearly as funny as
because it's a show about New York. Like literally, they had a whole John Mulaney episode, like a skit where they're dancing and a Broadway show style singing about a New York store, like gift shop that sells like I Love New York underwear and stuff.
Are you talking Hudson News or something?
No, like the gift shops in Times Square that just sell fucking I Love New York everything.
Yeah.
So they just had a whole skit about that, and they're like, New York, and it's this whole thing about how New York's going to come back and all this. It's just like New York sketch after one another. So I get it. It doesn't apply to a lot of people.
But the
politics is the thing that they grab people with.
But it's the worst part. SNL's political shit is poopy.
I think it's funny.
Poopy caca.
What's an example? Okay, I'm clearly between the two of you.
It's just
as I don't have as negative of a take as you do, nor do I have as positive as Joe here. Hit me with it. What about SNL's political take has been less than satisfactory?
Well, on the serious spectrum, normalizing bad people, which happens because it's like we've said before, people get used to the caricature and be like, oh, that's the real person.
Right. It's hard to think of George Bush Sr. and not think of Dana Carvey.
Right, and it's
You
like
know,
George
so-
Bush Sr. was a fucking nightmare of a like, not ideologically aligned with me. So like I like to remember him as like a piece of shit. Same with George Jr. Same idea. All this like revisionary stuff where they're like, gosh, he's so respectable. I don't care. He started the Iraq War. Fuck him.
Right.
Like, I don't know. So
Well, what actually started the Iraq War was the encroachment.
don't
by Iraq
actually
into
me
Beirut.
right now. Don't. He's
No,
the
but
president.
hey, facts are facts. You
He
can
gets-
you can be right or wrong.
He's the president. He
Okay,
gets
so
blamed.
what does that have to do with SNL? Get to that.
Because SNL like softballs these people.
I know, but what about like recent episodes? You're bringing up like
Joe Biden isn't as fucking crazy as Jim. Like, and I get that they're characters, but like that, people are so stupid, they're gonna believe that it's real. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I get it.
Well, when I think there's something to be said that when a lot of people get the majority of their news from nightly talk shows and things of that nature. And here's the thing.
And a lot of people do. That's
Right.
the issue.
But here's the thing. A lot of the news isn't much better.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I don't blame anyone for being like, I can either watch the funny version of CNN or the CNN version of CNN or whatever it might be.
But even okay, so away from the serious stuff now, the jokes are just like whack.
Yeah, I'm not a huge
They're
fan.
just like that. They're just not funny.
Yeah,
to me, I don't know why.
I agree a little bit. Like where it's like I way more prefer like the serious satire, like a John Oliver or something like that, or even, and we've talked about it last week. Even Colbert, I watched part of his show last night and I thought it was pretty good.
He's too earnest. He's like not even doing comedy anymore.
Right. It's all there's a little bit of like a laugh of desperation in a lot of what comes out of his mouth.
Yeah.
That he's laughing and making a joke about something that is in his eyes so sad it has to be funny.
Right.
You
The
know,
laughing to keep from crying kind of feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there and I think that's a gift as well, is to be able to bring that kind of levity to a serious situation.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that every once in a while Saturday Night Live does really hit one out of the park.
Like Alec Baldwin as Trump.
Alec Baldwin is
obviously.
Trump, yeah.
But it's played out now. Like
I do agree with that. And I really wish, the thing I don't like about Alec Baldwin being Trump is that I would have much rather somebody on the show got the opportunity to be that recurring character, as opposed to like an A-list actor being.
Well,
a
that's what
recurring
bothered
character.
me about Jim Carrey. And
Yeah, same here.
we've talked
See,
about this. Is that
I
like,
actually have info on that though, because I have heard either from some sort of like documentary or something about SNL is like that's actually good because the people that work on the show like if they're a cast member they don't want to do it because that's all they'll do.
Ah, okay.
They like don't get to do other sketches, so they're like, no,
that almost happened to Kate McKinnon as Hillary.
it would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was too good at it.
Yeah.
But they kept every single character. They're like, oh, RBG, you could be her. You could be, any crazy kooky white lady, we got you.
Yeah.
It's you. But to go back, I think what is important about SNL's political stuff is it dumbs it down for people that don't want to watch a longer political show like John Oliver, and kind of it highlights the stupidity of what's going on during an election and things like that. So I think it's important because it then makes it more mainstream for people to kind of pay attention to what's actually the stupidness of it and kind of knocks it down a peg.
I don't think they make it stupid enough then. Maybe that's what it is because like to me it's not funny haha because like it's real even though it is. They play it as like, isn't this a funny scenario that we came up with? It's like, no, real. If people aren't also watching the news, they lose that context.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I'd say that one other kind of thing that I'm always curious about is who are they talking to? How much of Trump's base is watching SNL every Saturday? How much of
Zero.
How much of and I asked the same question. You would think there might be some with Colbert just because CBS kind of has like a little bit of an old, but I think he's kind of probably pushed that crowd away, and it's also late at night, so there's a reasonable chance that a certain demographic is asleep by then. But yeah, I always wonder like. I've wondered this always since even all the way back to like John Oliver, or not John Oliver, I meant Jon Stewart. Is who are we talking to, and what are we trying to say? And Jon Stewart did a really great job at getting everybody center left and further riled up. or like going into like some granular detail about the news of the day, but keeping it funny. And I think Jon Stewart's one of the funniest political commentators that's ever existed.
Yeah, definitely.
100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Which I'm surprised we haven't seen him pop back up.
Oh, he just signed some contract. He's coming back.
He's also busy.
He's doing something on Showtime.
He's also busy securing the fucking 9/11 pension fund or whatever.
Yeah. The wounded, or not wounded warriors. It's the.
I don't know. He's like slammed. I saw a photo of him like standing in the entryway like, "Fuck you," and I was like, "That's sick."
Yeah,
I like Jon Stewart.
Yeah, likewise. And so I always just wonder, it's really great to watch it, and it's super, it's obviously it's super funny, but I feel that maybe one of the things, like, I don't know, maybe is there a mistake on the left to not be taking it as seriously as those on the right do? Because on the right, it seems to me that there just isn't like for being. I'm going to stereotype here, but for being a group that has a tendency of calling millennials snowflakes and things of the sort, they seem to get pretty pissed off when you make fun of them about anything, and so that makes me wonder if is there an equivalent in satire on the right?
No. So like the big issue I feel like you run into with popular media and all that stuff is young people don't fuck with that shit. Like the younger demographics find it hokey or corny, or in general just like not
find what hokey and corny. Sorry,
like if Jon Stewart came out today, he would not be as widely lauded as he was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think he would be,
because
he would have the same crowd he had then. They've just all gotten older.
Yeah, but the thing that made him such a force was that he had young people too.
Right, which I think Trevor Noah does a good job with that.
I disagree. I don't know anybody who watches Trevor Noah. Like, for real. I don't know, and I'm not the youngest person I know. It's just not. Young people don't have cable. Young people maybe.
Yeah, but the YouTube clip side of it. I mean, those clips get millions of views.
Yeah, but Trevor Noah also had a rough go of it a little bit ago when he like first started, because all of his jokes are bad. And it wasn't until he started just being earnest.
Yeah, I do agree that like when his jokes felt written, they were bad.
When they felt written, and also,
I think he is an inherently funny person.
Sure.
But I don't think the writing style, whatever was going on there, it all came off as incredibly disingenuous.
Yeah, and he's a he took over from John. I don't know. It's a bet. They should have just stopped the show personally and like given Trevor Noah a different show.
Well, they kind of tried to do that with the other guy that was on after him that had the
Larry Wilmore.
Larry Wilmore, yeah.
Yeah, they canceled it because it was too funny. It was too mean.
I don't think so.
I
didn't find that show very funny.
It's because it was too mean. I thought it was funny though. I think I like the if there's any shortcoming that I won't even say people on the left, but like Democrats, which are like centrist and like center left, is they're too nice.
I do agree with
that.
They're
too worried about that.
I think,
and they're also too worried about.
It's a bad situation to be put in, because it's not that they're too nice; it's that the opposition is so aggressive.
No, but then they step on their own foot by fucking with the left, who is also mean.
Yes, the far left.
No, just like the left.
Okay.
I don't think there really is a far left, because there aren't enough people who like really are with that type of shit out here. Also, I don't. What do you mean, like I don't know. It just seems like I know what the far right is, because that's Nazis. But like, what's the equivalent of that? Like, everybody wants to live in harmony?
No.
Like hippy dippy shit, or what?
No. Because there's an equivalent authoritarian side on the left that is still forcefully leftist. So.
Oh, so it's like okay.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely exists, and it's a decent sized cohort, but it still makes up the fringes on both the extreme left and the extreme right make up fringes. They're the periphery, not the middle.
But think about like
the masses are represented mostly with centrists.
Right, which is an issue, because if you're in the center, that means you don't think anything. It means you haven't decided either way.
See, and you and I have had this discussion before, where my definition, I guess, when I say center, does not mean undecided, means more moderate in opinion.
Sure.
So like somebody who isn't necessarily somebody who feels that they need to go down the party line the whole way, or somebody who is pro universal health care, but like, not into UBI and not into debt forgiveness for students or something.
And I don't know. the past 4 years specifically, but even probably like 6, it's less about, I don't know. No, there are no like the Democratic Party as a whole is not down with
The sickness?
They're not down with the sickness, nor are they down with like actual like any type of actual leftist policy. Progressive policy is maybe a better word. Like they're not down with UBI. They're not down with universal health care.
Right.
They're not down with any of
It's
that.
the fringes within. But if you look at
It's not even the fringes. Like
No.
Bernie Sanders is not fringe, and they just shut him down because they were like, you are going against the many.
Mm-hmm. And I do agree that the Democratic Party is fairly moderate. But what I will say is that the definition of what is left has changed over the years. So progressiveness has changed over the years because, progressive 70 years ago just meant being like, hey, can we just treat black people like they're people?
Exactly.
And now, and I'm not saying that we've completely succeeded in that mission, but it seems that certainly some of the ideals that moving goalpost hasn't seemed to move as much as you would have anticipated with all the progress that's happened in this country. That we would still be chasing, what the fundamental ideal of progressiveness is. I think is kind of because I consider myself super progressive, but it's an issue by issue thing, and the kind of the chokehold that conservatism is on America doesn't just permeate the Republican Party; it permeates a lot of the center and just center left.
I agree.
But and this is we don't really plan. I mean we don't plan a ton of this stuff out. So just full disclosure, if you're wondering like if every episode of this is just talking.
No,
it's election day. It's election day. So
what do you think we're going to talk about?
Yeah, this is the only day I feel like it's acceptable to like really deep dive into any sort of like because normally like.
Yeah, and you're going to be hearing about it all day. We're just like the appetizer.
Yeah.
So like I mean, if you're watching this,
and I mean,
there's
there will be other stuff to talk about.
I'm not George Stephanopoulos. I'm not some political pundit. I'm not Nate Silver. I'm not somebody who's going to give you this like insane. I'm just an average American, and I think that makes up the 4 people that are in this room make up 4 average under 40-year-old white men who have an opinion about something and take that for what it is.
Yep.
So to be clear, I have my opinion regarding my own political views differs from you and you, and I'm sure though I have not talked at length with Mike over there about it, I'm sure it differs slightly, and that's great, and I love conversation. I love actually the more people I can talk to that have different opinions than me, I find it better. I feel that the most conversation possible is great, and even to the point where there's a guy who works in this building. I've referenced him a couple times. He's actually moving out of the building, and we're taking over his space. So, yay us, because we get more space in the building now.
Huzzah!
But he's your kind of typical business owner, 60 years old. Has a lot of conservative viewpoints. But even he said he'd vote for Biden, or he said he'd vote for Bernie. And he's like, I fucking hate Bernie. He just was so anti-Trump in this whole thing, which I think is going to be the driving force behind all this.
Which quickly, Dungeons Designs wants to know: is PYH Trump or Biden?
Oh, I'm definitely pro-America, but the best decision that I think I can make for the benefit of this country right now is definitely to vote for Biden. I would have preferred a different Democratic candidate, and I would prefer more than 2 parties. But to answer the question in one sentence, I am very not pro-Trump. So the alternative is what I'm left with.
Yeah, I mean, I begrudgingly voted for Biden, but it's begrudgingly because he's not progressive enough for me.
Right,
Bernie Sanders was my compromise.
And see, for me, Andrew Yang would have been my preferred candidate to have in the fight. But
I just felt that Bernie was too crazy right now for people to jump on the bandwagon.
I also think there's a serious problem, and I know this gets
You know what I'm saying? In the sense that like we need to reassess, and you're gonna get, Steve downstairs to vote for Biden because he's not so bad.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
It's just like,
but we have a problem. They're all too old, though.
Old white guy.
Every one of these guys. When that I've heard it reiterated in a bunch of other places and print and podcasts and news and everything else. There's a problem that when every candidate is born in the 40s, that this is supposed we're supposed to, this is our country too, and there are more people that are represented by younger viewpoints than are represented by the older viewpoints. This country has changed a lot in the 77 years that Joe Biden has been alive. Additionally, I think that one of the big...
They're older than the people we voted in 1994.
Literally.
Obama would still... Yeah, Obama would still
be... They're older than Obama.
Yeah.
They're older than Bush.
They're older than Bill Clinton.
and Bill Clinton. People we voted
Bill Clinton's
for in
old
the
as fuck
90s.
to me, and I go, oh yeah, I guess. But so, do you think there should? Actually, I'll start. I think there should be an age limit as well
So
as
do
an
I.
age
Agreed.
entry.
I agree.
Like you should only have like a little, because you can be the president. What, 35 technically?
It's either 35 or 45. I don't remember which one. 35. Okay, yeah.
35. So 35. I'll go.
65, I think, is a fair number.
Yeah, if you're over, it's just like retirement.
And I feel that way with voting.
But actually, I would say.
You don't think old people should be allowed to vote?
What?
No. To quote John Mulaney,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
It's like when you go to a restaurant, you don't buy for the table when you're about to leave the restaurant.
I guess.
So old people at 94 voting.
Yeah.
You're voting for stuff.
But they
Yeah.
really should be. The issue is that, like, I don't know. It's all beyond the
I think if you're certain age, you shouldn't be helping make a decision that you're not going to be around for.
like what, 80?
I think 80 should be a good cutoff. Because there's a chance that you're likely to pass on within that time, and
Yeah,
I don't
but
think you should be making decisions for the country.
Technically, you should only be making the decisions for 4 years. It's just that all the stuff behind the presidency is like like all the judge shit that's been going on the past like month. Yo, fuck the Supreme Court. Term limits, all like we gotta.
Yeah, I do agree with term limits on that. Yeah.
There's so much reform that has to go on if we want to like keep trucking as the country that we are.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
It's
So
crazy,
I
man.
don't agree with the old people limits on voting, but I do agree with the old people limits on Supreme Court and
You
any
just-
public office. To be
You
honest,
don't agree on the voting because you want to be fucking 92, being like, fuck y'all. Which I get. I'm gonna be old and voting and pissed.
Yeah. The one thing the one thing
Hopefully.
I will in kind of like my sentiment about old, just age in general, is something I've said a bunch of times, and I kind of as a bit of youthful defiance at one point, and then later on just as a life experience point. Don't mistake old age for wisdom. You know, we've often been told that we need to respect our elders and things of that sort, but hey, dumb people grow up too.
Sure.
And so, sometimes I think that gets like it kind of gets mixed in there with this perception of wisdom. You know, that like just because you got enough gray hairs and grandkids that you're seemingly wise, but you can be a fucking moron too.
Absolutely. I know I've met lots of dumb old people.
Oh yeah.
And you want them to vote?
Yeah,
No, I want
don't
everybody to vote
think-
because there's
it's not-
dumb young people too, and they
actually,
get to vote too. So
It's not that I don't. It's not that I want them to vote because I don't. But I don't want conservatives to vote. Like I want is different than like.
I just feel like that.
I feel like they
old
they
people
should
like,
be able to.
get in the way.
correct. Yeah.
I would love to somehow
Of
figure out a
correcting.
way to. Like, how do I personally voter suppress old people?
you just want to go on the offensive and do the same thing that conservatives have done.
Okay. Here's an idea. Stay with me. On election day, to keep old people from voting, Jeopardy marathon all day. Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune,
Yeah. Price is
etc.
Right. Price is right.
Price is Right.
Yeah.
I
Drew
think they
Carey.
wouldn't leave. They'd be like, "Fuck, well, shit. They're doing the 24-hour Tuesday the 3rd marathon.
Mm-hmm.
What am I gonna do?" That's how we do it.
Or we just say they can't vote.
I think Andy and I were talking about this a couple hours ago. You know, it's funny. The left wants everybody to be able to vote, and the right wants a select group of people to be able to vote. And I do agree with voter suppression. I think honestly, if I were to make a laundry list of things, and feel free to chime in if you have anything you'd like to add to it. I think my laundry list of things, including the things we just talked about, the age limits on terms and things like that, term limits, age limits, would be to get rid of the way that we district. I'm not. I was
all the gerrymandering shit.
the gerrymandering. So I was inherently I was against. Now I do change my mind as the facts change or as my understanding of something's changed. So my understanding led me to an opinion that I didn't think that the Electoral College was good.
I still don't think it's good.
I think it's broken, but I think it's fine. I think we need to fix it by redistricting, by redoing by making it more representative of the population that it represents. So I would say that the representation by population nationwide needs to be changed dramatically.
And I think
Absolutely.
part of it, they need to change the way they do the census. This having it be a separate thing that you got to go around to houses and these people checking in and all this bullshit. Have someone the Census Bureau needs to exist to check in on stuff, right?
Yeah.
But what does every person most likely do in this country? They have to pay taxes. Most people pay taxes. The percentage of the amount of people that pay taxes is high. There's people that stay away from that and all that.
But at least file.
Why not have them fill out a form at the end that answers the census questions? Why do you make this whole other thing that determines the way we vote and the way things are changed in this country on some guys walking around going to people's houses and be like, hey, did you fill out that form that came in the mail? I don't fill out forms to get free shit.
The census doesn't determine how we vote.
Yes, it does.
What do you mean?
It determines the population and the representation that each county or each state gets. So if
well, okay, in theory, but like
no, in practice,
No.
in practice, the House of Representatives is strictly based on the amount of representatives that is in any given state is based on the population that comes from the census. Also, the census is a constitutional mandate that must be done every 10 years, and the reason for that is to make sure
so how does that affect? I know what the census is, just to be clear.
Okay.
Many people watching don't.
How does that affect voting? Because they're not going to add representatives.
Yes, they will. They do it all the time. They take them away too.
Yeah.
Really?
That's why this one was so important.
They will have representatives. Like let's say a state has 9 representatives and their population shrank. They will only get 8. That one of those people will
then move to a not that person, but that seat would then move to a state with a bigger population.
That makes more sense because I'm like the number is
the
number's the same. I had to learn it in school and it's like 500 and something or whatever.
Yeah, it's like 502 or something. Yeah, like that, the number stays the same. It is a representation of the percentage of the population that lives in that particular state.
So, for example, let's say you have a red state or something, and they lose seat. Some people would think that's more. Yeah, would be happy about that situation, or if it happens the other way. If a blue state loses a seat, and now all of a sudden...
I just thought census was more geared towards, like, distributing tax money and things like that.
No. It does that too, but that's also a lot of the tax money that goes out is actually determined by the amount of taxes paid within that particular area, unless there's federal programs or something like that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, and that happens. That stuff will happen. They'll be like, okay, well... this particular county or something, or this particular region has maybe median income's like $100,000. Let's say like Breckenridge, Colorado, or something like that.
Sure.
So they're probably not going to get a lot of federal subsidies to make their roads better.
Hell, Johnson County.
Sure. But there's a mixed bag. Johnson County it's wealthy by Kansas standards, but not by U.S. standards.
No, it's like what are you talking about? It's like top 5 counties in the country.
I believe the median income though is still pretty average. So a lot of their stuff
that sucks for the rest of the. That sucks then.
Right.
Because it's always on every map. It's always there.
Right. It's like the high. It has to do with the high income earners on the top, not all the average people in the middle and the bottom.
Oh, it's Bill Self's fault or fucking George Brett.
Yeah, it's
fucking George Brett's fault, man.
I doubt. How much money do you think George Brett still has?
Probably a lot. He's got all those bars and I don't
didn't know he
know.
had any bars.
Maybe he gambles.
He
definitely gambles.
He definitely gambles.
He definitely drinks and he definitely gambles.
He poops his pants. I bet he gets paid for that still.
No, so the
census is important.
The census is important. The amount of money that every part of the country collects in taxes is important because it determines internal and external funding.
So why can't we just link those together?
Oh yeah, I don't know. That honestly sounds like a pretty smart move.
Yeah,
if I was president, that's what I would do.
But also, you could fill out the census online this year, I think, for the first time, and
yeah, that's what we did.
I'm still pretty
sure
hella people didn't do it.
I still had half a dozen people come to my house after I did it online.
Yeah.
I'm just like, can you just mark me off the list? I've done it. And they just kept coming.
But they should force you to do it.
Well, they also should force you to register to, like, you should be automatically registered to vote at 18.
Which you do when you get your license.
That's not automatic, though.
No, it's not automatic.
But they still allow you to ask. They ask you during that process.
Yeah, and you don't get registered to vote when you get your license. You just get the forms to then later register to vote.
That's right.
Yeah, it sucks.
See, you have to link it to stuff where people have to do something. Not in like, it's taking away my rights and my decision. Cool. You could just say, I don't want to register.
Opt out.
I'm going to opt out.
Yeah.
Same way with organ donating.
It should be an opt-out, not an opt-in.
But giving people, it's shitty to say it, but people are lazy. And the best way to get them to do something is by the thing that they have to do.
So far, we've been calling people stupid and lazy. We're really
everybody is stupid.
I'm stupid and lazy. I'm the number one stupid and lazy.
I'm allowed
guy.
to. I'm from New York. We call everything stupid and lazy. Everybody's stupid and lazy. My mother, my father, my sister.
I would consider myself
friends.
definitely lazy and occasionally very stupid.
Everybody
so
but my wife.
Everyone but your exactly. Exactly.
There you go, Casey.
Yeah, I think. When it comes down to like the mandating of the census, I mean, sure, I'm open to ideas, but and then I think campaign finance reform is a really big one, and I think there needs to be a limitation on what congressmen and senators can do when they leave to go into lobbying and going into big corporate interests and things like that, because it's kind of a hard one to think that somebody's doing something truly representative of your ideals and choices when if they just don't get reelected, they can go off to work for a major corporation lobbying the people that they used to rub shoulders with, or rub elbows with, rather.
Yeah. Yes, the classic gotta get money out of politics.
Yeah. And that's a hard one. I mean, anywhere there's power, there's money. So, and vice versa.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know I don't know how that would work. Like, genuinely, it's so ingrained.
I agree.
I don't know. I mean, I feel comfortable blanket blaming capitalism, but that's just because it's easy and it is bad.
Yeah, I disagree with that, and it's wrong.
Me too.
But
Yeah, I always feel like there's too many. Unfortunately, I feel like there's too many people that do that shit.
What do you mean? But how
Blank,
is it?
because
I understand that too many people do that, but like,
because
why?
You have a good understanding
So many
of the way
people-
that works.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people just the same way they latch on to Trump, latch on to that idea, like it's capitalism's fault, and they don't know why.
yeah, it's a blank statement. And then okay, so I'll get on a kind of a soapbox here for a sec. This is the line that I ride between being, I guess, liberal and progressive and being free market and conservative. Like I'm not particularly free market or conservative. I mean, I am because I believe in free markets. But this is that line where when a libertarian will say something to the effect of, we need to get rid of regulations, deregulate everything, state, all this other stuff. So this is anytime there's an opportunity to make money, there's an opportunity to do it at the harm of someone else. Mm-hmm. And as the predecessor to capitalism was mercantilism. Mm-hmm. And there's always been a bad egg in every one of these, and there's naturally an evolution, and capitalism will evolve or has evolved or is evolving into something else. I don't disagree with that. But capitalism in its core is the fairest exchange that we have and that we've thought of for work, ideas, time, energy, the whole nine. And I do agree that it has some faults. Things just like this country, some things need to be renovated. But I think those things can be mostly regulated through policies and through regulation that keep people from performing unfairly. And not unfairly in the sense of I'm doing better than you. I don't think that is not the barometer for fairness. It is I have just all the opportunity or all the the crony capitalism, these things like that. I can't blame one company for giving a contract to a friend's company because there's a relationship there. It's going to happen. And nepotism happens in every area of life, from poor people to all the way up to the top. But capitalism is not what I think what's rotten. I think what's rotten is how capitalism has expanded unchecked. And through that has become, it has become the thing that fuels its own fire. So I'm very much not anti-capitalist, but I think that we need to do something about it. It needs to be managed in the same way that a fucking bonsai tree is.
It's crazy because you sound anti-capitalist. Like, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you are technically anti-capitalism because you believe that there are reforms that need to be made. Like, focusing on the free market stuff, like, realistically, I feel like
giving my dog a haircut. Giving my dog a haircut doesn't make me anti-dog, though. I want to change.
What? That's not equivalent. Don't do that.
No,
that's not even. That's not.
Confused.
But you are.
That's fucking apples and spears.
No,
like,
you are
not even.
You are throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
No,
I'm not. So being anti something means I'm against it entirely.
You are against its current form.
Which is my problem.
You are literally just said.
I still think that even in its current form, it is better than a lot of alternatives.
That's not. Who cares?
But I'm not
don't
anti-capitalism.
care. But I don't care if it's better than things. I want.
What?
Why do I care?
Winston Churchill said one of my favorite quotes of all time: "Democracy is the worst, except for all the rest."
So here's this. I don't fuck Winston Churchill.
Okay, sure.
What the
He
fuck
said-
is
somebody-
going on today?
Listen, a Tesla is a better car. Think about it like this. Or
Okay.
let's a fucking Lamborghini, whatever, a cool ass supercar
Aventador or something. Yeah,
is
there you go.
better than the car that I have.
Yes.
But I don't have that car. I have my car, and
Okay.
I have the opportunity to do things to my car that will make it better.
Okay.
So I don't care about the
Right.
fancy car.
You're
That's
not
what I'm saying.
anti-car. You just want your car to be better.
Right, but
Yeah,
I am
same here.
anti my car because if it sucks, I need to change it. So I'm anti my car at the moment. I don't think capitalism is necessarily unchangeable because we've never really tried.
I disagree with that.
There haven't been sweeping regulations that benefit people in a long time.
Yeah, there have. They just haven't happened here.
Again, then why would I care?
But then, it's evidence that capitalism is just like a Lamborghini exists, and is not. It is a different beast than your CRV.
Yes.
It is still a car that is working as a car should.
Shouldn't you care about it that the Lamborghini catches fire on every time it reaches 100 miles an hour?
Well, yeah.
Cool. That's like so saying the idea that you don't care because you don't have it.
But
You
that
still
doesn't
have to care a
invalidate
little
the,
bit.
But what I'm saying is like the fact that
You have to acknowledge it so you know you don't want it too.
yeah, but then I also go, yeah, there's less things to fix in that Lamborghini, so if I could have that Lamborghini, it would be a better choice in this type
Okay.
of
Yeah.
you know what I
I'm
mean? But
following
as
you.
far as where
Yeah.
we're at, you sound anti-capitalist because
But I'm not.
you believe that there are things that need to be changed, and eventually Theseus ship or whatever
Yeah, at one point in time,
with enough reform to the free market or to capitalism or whatever, when does it really stop being that and start being something else? And that's kind of the point.
Okay.
What-
And I'm not at that point where I think so many things need to be. So many boards of the ship do not need to be replaced that it would replace capitalism in its entirety.
I think it would. I just think it would feel like capitalism. It just would be different.
Okay. I mean, that's your opinion.
And I don't know what
Yeah.
it would be called, but it would still be capitalism because, yeah, there would still be the markings
the
of it.
trade of capital.
But, like UBI and capitalism.
Very much not capitalism. It can be. They're not necessarily mutually exclusive, but it is definitely a
No,
big
but if you
shift
merge,
from the free market.
if you merge them, it's something else. Even if it is
Right, it's
in
a
your
social-
head,
it's
if you're
social-
still
it-
calling it
yeah,
capital, it's
there's
like
an element of socialism being sprinkled into your
sure,
capitalism.
social capitalism, whatever the name eventually will be, because I'm sure it's gonna have to happen, or else I don't know, the poor people will rise up, kind
Yeah,
of deal.
yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I don't know. When I say I like it's all capitalism's fault, it's because it kind of is. The fact that that businesses and politicians and whomever, if you have enough money, you can kind of run unchecked because you are technically playing by the rules.
And sometimes making them.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm anti that. And that
Yeah.
is what capitalism is. So I can comfortably call myself anti-capitalist.
But that's not what capitalism is.
But it is.
No, that's what corruption is, and that's what cronyism is.
But
it's
it is-
different.
But that's what we got.
But if you had cancer, the cancer is not the human. The cancer is the cancer. And I think that the human is still good. We need to eliminate the cancer. The fundamentals of capitalism have nothing to do with the things that you're talking about. So the fundamentals.
Hold on, how so?
Fundamentals of capitalism are the fair and free exchange of time, service, goods, etc., for money. And then on top of that, if you want to get into some further economic theory, it is the addition of value added. So if I have a rock that I can extract ore from, I can smelt that down, turn that into iron, turn that into a butter knife. Well, that butter knife is now worth more than that rock because the value added due to all, and the combination of all the processes may have only cost X amount of dollars, but because I can make 100,000 knives, it's going to be worth more than all that stuff put together.
Right.
So that's value added economics. But as far as the core fundamentals of capitalism, it is just the evolution from mercantilism, which was one step above
So are
barbarism.
you purposefully only focusing on that?
Yes. Yes.
Because I'm focusing on that, and then everything else that comes with it.
Right. And what I'm
Which
saying,
I would also call capitalism. I don't know what else you would call it.
it's all the trappings that we have added to capitalism. The problem is that the human being that is surrounded with cancer is the core. You know, if you go beyond capitalism to something else, you are going into socialism potentially. You are, and there are ways that you can do socialism and capitalism, and they can exist in their full forms on both. Sweden, places like this do this well.
Yeah, you can still make money, and also everyone can still live in a home and not die.
Right. Yes. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility to have like kind of parallel systems. One that is the way the government acts, and the other is the way that the free market acts. This is fine. That is still capitalism, and I don't think that that's removing anything that is the fundamental core of capitalism.
Just because it's not the set of capitalism that exists now doesn't mean it's anti-capitalism.
Right,
That's
because
what I'm confused about.
Because the alternatives,
why your view is that way, and I want to know why you look at it that way. So if I change something on the thing, that means I was anti that thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me. Just because I don't like the way it sort of is, but I like everything else, and all I want to do is pluck this one dumpster fire out of it to change it.
Yeah.
Why would that make that I'm anti?
Well, because
capitalism?
we've gone so far from the base definition of capitalism.
I disagree. I think we are at the base definition, and it's all the shit that's added on.
Even
top.
if we've gone so far from the base,
Because to move away from capitalism,
Yeah.
you have to move to barterism, mercantilism, socialism, or communism. Some of those things are not mutually exclusive, as we've discussed before. But you know, if we were to go to purely communistic, that there is no. If you're pure communist, there's no capitalism. You know, the one will
Yeah, I know,
completely
but that's
snuff out
not.
the
But
fire.
that's
of the
also
other.
not even what I'm talking about.
Right. But what I'm
I
saying,
think that's where your guys' brains immediately went.
no, I'm not. No, I don't care. No, communism. I don't care. I didn't think anything about.
I mean, that was my Lamborghini on fire.
Yeah.
That was communism.
I know it was, and I wanted to be like, you've never read fucking Karl Marx. Chill out.
My thing with I didn't think you were going towards a communistic approach at all. What I'm saying is, oftentimes, what is
That would be sick, though. I will go on record and saying, if it worked, it would be tight.
yeah. I mean,
It's literally utopia. It's why it's hard to do, or
Right.
seemingly impossible. I don't know.
right. When it comes to capitalism, at its core, it is what almost every country, even some countries that call themselves communist at the moment, it is at the core the economic system that fuels the entire world. The only country I can think of off the top of my head that has no real capitalism, maybe I'm sure there's a black market, would be North Korea. So we have all these different versions, all these different trimmings. So it's like they're all cars, but that one's a Honda Civic, and that one's a Kia Soul, and that one's a Lamborghini.
So you consider capitalism like realistically, the car, the genus,
Yes.
and then so what would you consider? What is America doing? And I can't just be corrupted capitalism because it's not. It's like it's been around for too long.
And I think.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Reformed capitalism?
No, because you can
Reform
negatively
sounds
or
positive though.
Yeah,
It's
you can
got to
do
be
both ways.
negative because
Okay.
the way that we've let capitalism just kind of like.
I think a really good way to start is crony capitalism. I mean, I think we are a very crony capitalistic country.
Okay.
But I think that it's not just the cronyism that has added to it. I think that there's an element of like systematic oppression that happens on some ends of it. There is an element of wealth hoarding that happens on some of it, and there's a lot of and I'm not a redistribution of wealth person by any stretch, but there is probably an undertaxing and overservice, or undertaxing and underservicing of the American dream that definitely needs some adjustments to it. I'm not a tax billionaires 100% kind of guy, but I'm definitely like they should be paying their fair share
They
and
should be taxed
accordingly.
They make too much money to not be taxed.
Correct. I agree with you 100% on that. I also think there needs to be, like whatever the political side of it, whatever the political side chooses to do with their capitalism is really what affects how capitalism works within that particular place. So if you don't have something like the EPA to put human nature in check, because the human nature is to do whatever it takes to get ahead with no regard for the people around you.
Right.
But that's part of the political structure more so than it is that's when you come into like, okay, we're not really a democracy, we're a democratic republic, but that's when it starts getting into like the nuances of how we want to legislate and how we want to govern our own country, and this is typically why I ride the line on politics so hard, because I don't agree with the ideas solely of any party, and think that if we just thought about what was in the best interest of the future of America,
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd be in a dramatically better place for it. But I don't see us getting there without capitalism. Because capitalism is the greatest, in my opinion, capitalism is the greatest barometer that we've come up with that is a indicator of motivation and success. We are motivated financially to do great things, and it also gives us the tools to do great things. So it takes when you have a good idea and there is no capitalism, there is no reward for having that good idea, and oftentimes there would be no expansion of that good idea because you do not have resources if you just have 1/330 millionth of all the assets of the country. So to be able to, good ideas are rewarded through capitalism because people can vote with their dollars. They can say iPhones are better than Samsung. They can say Hondas are better than Hyundais, or whatever they want. And that is the heart of capitalism. Now what needs to change about that is making it a fair ball game, at least on the entry point for everyone that we can.
Yeah, yes. So
And we're dramatically fairer than most countries. So just a full disclosure.
again, don't care.
I'm just saying, like in a lot of other countries.
Like, great, okay.
Right. I'm just saying in a lot of other countries.
I could be 200 pounds heavier. I don't know.
No,
I still
that's
am
stop.
fine.
You're being no. You're being no. You're being
you
an
just
ass.
keep bringing up other countries,
No,
and
no.
I just don't care.
But they're models. They're models for success in other areas. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, so now
Or failures.
Now I think I know where we're not so. The economic importance of capitalism, sure. I don't know enough about economics or any of that to really speak on that. But the government shouldn't really be operating under those same auspices, correct? Because
Yes and no. There's some trading off of things. You can't go all the way one way.
the government should just be like doing government stuff, not worrying about like if they're taxing the businesses, the citizens, a private citizen or a business or whatever, yeah, do all your capitalist stuff and step on little guy, do whatever you need to do to succeed. You're one person, it's fine. But when the government acts like that, they're not just stepping on business competitors, they're stepping on the people who live in the country.
I agree.
So that is also So I suppose, to be even more specific, it's more the capitalism inside government that's the problem versus the actual
Capitalism.
the economic idea.
Yes.
Yes.
I think one thing government, especially this government, especially if we want to be specific about ours, one thing we've done time after time is somehow take the worst ideas out of we'll have two competing ideas and we'll take the worst out of both and combine them into one.
Right.
As opposed to taking the best of two ideas and combining them into one. I think the Affordable Health Care Act is probably a pretty good example of this, where it took the worst parts of insurance and the worst parts of Medicaid or Medicare and made them one. I do believe that the ACA was probably a good step forward towards medical reform, and I'm hoping that we can come up with something better. And that is part of this experiment in democracy that we have, is that we continually get to sharpen this knife,
Right.
In our toolbox.
And my longtime friend Nicole Hartman agrees that for all the problems we talk about in our system, it is far less corrupt and much more fair than overseas.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that. I think
I don't live overseas.
Yeah, there's
different.
always
Yeah,
more
yeah,
to be
yeah,
done, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
She
I just
knows
don't
all
live
that.
overseas.
Yeah,
So
me too.
But you have to look at that as a model, right?
why?
Which one?
You have to look at that as the fact that those exist and what happens in those other countries. Just
I
because
do
you
agree.
don't live there,
Yeah,
there, how come you don't care about how that
So
happens?
you brought up Sweden earlier.
Yeah.
Sweden is what everybody always brings up. See, it's doable.
I mean,
It is something you can model after, but
right. I try not to do that as far as what we can do, but I try to more or less cherry pick separate ideas as to what works in other places and what things could be implemented here, because there's a massive cultural difference between each country too. So certain people are going to react differently, just
population differences. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into
Sure.
I don't really. The only country I think I would conceivably look at to see what they're doing and if they're doing it any better than us would be Australia, because they are equally as big and fucking weird and also.
But they only have the population.
Super racist and fucked up.
They are super racist and fucked up, and
so
those bogans get real
if
squirrely.
they can, if they're doing
Jesus.
the fact that everyone in Australia is forced to vote, you're legally required to vote. I think that's great. I think you should be legally required to vote. I also feel like we could
Which
probably
goes back to what I said earlier. You got to force people to
exactly.
do shit.
So like, there's stuff. Yeah, I can look at things and go like, that's a good idea, but like half of the good ideas I see somewhere else, I'm like, that probably can't happen here because X, Y, Z.
Right? Yeah. There are some that you can, some that won't, and some that will, and some that can.
That's what I mean when I say I don't like. I'm not gonna because then I'd just be extra bummed because I'm like, damn, all these other countries are doing pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're on fire over here.
And in
Okay, now I understand
you know-
why you ignore
you know
it,
what I'm
because you're
saying?
just like, because
Real
there
quick
are
to-
things that are working better.
to hearken to what Nicole
Definitely.
said, I am thankful I was born on this chunk of land, on this patch of dirt. I'm thankful for the opportunities it provides me. I do think it provides a lot more upward mobility than most countries on Earth, and provides a lot of opportunities. And there's also a lot of wealth here, so there's a lot to be had. There's a lot of pie, so even a small slice can go a long way.
But you also, I don't know. I know you also agree that there are also, because you mentioned it earlier, that's only true for a certain percentage of the country.
It
Because
would
there
be
are
true
things
for
in-
all of us if we gave everybody a better starting point.
Exactly. It
So-
could
so,
be
yeah,
true.
Yeah. This is a country where you can go from the absolute bottom rung of the ladder to the absolute top. It is possible. It is
Feasibly.
feasibly, and it has happened. There are parts of the world where that's just not possible, or the ladder is so short that the top rung sucks too.
Sure.
So and then there are also places like Singapore where the bottom rung is really fucking high. Sweden, the bottom rung is really high. You can live a comfortable life on the lowest end of society in some countries, and that is a great, kudos to whatever social programs were in place to make that a reality. But I do look at other countries and I think about the little things, just those little things that we could tweak and twist here. But I do agree that as an aggregate, I think that this is probably the greatest place to have been born in the 20th century. And now we just need to keep it that way.
I would guess it. Again. I don't know. Hate to say it. It's a white view.
Sure.
Like I often think the same thing, but I have to remember that that's not the case for like probably 50% of the country.
Right. And
I don't know what
yeah.
census. It's important. Who knows
yeah.
what the breakdown in the country is at the moment?
And the
but-
fairness of the color of your skin or your gender, unfortunately, it's not just an American problem. It is
Right.
it is one that follows people around this world. I think specifically of black people in pretty much every country. I've seen the way that black people are treated in Thailand and China. I've seen the way that they're treated in Europe. It might be the one universality, because there isn't enough opportunity on the home continent, at least in the majority of the countries there. So yeah, I could see there's a lot to be fixed for sure, and there's a lot to be fixed here as well. But it's that I think the place I constantly try to be when it comes to the criticism of this country is that I'm constantly hopeful and thankful. We do move that line of what is right and we are moving it in the right direction.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that just because there was 5 steps back in one area that there weren't 10 steps forward in another. And so I try to see it in an aggregate and look at things in decades, look at things in centuries, and hope that I am in just one more transitionally positive part of human history or American history.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But you have there's a certain sense of personal responsibility that comes along with that.
Definitely.
And so you got to be, I'm not, some people are really disillusioned and apathetic about changing this country or things like that. But it's also very hard when that's all you've ever known. If you're 18 years old, you're 19 years old, and you don't, your political awareness kicks in when you're 13 and you're taking civics class, and so you only have 5 years, and the last 5 years has fucking sucked. It's because we have the Trump campaign all the way up through current, and that's your entire reality of politics.
I mean,
When they're going to think it's a joke.
Or yeah. I mean,
But seriously,
they're really-
there's-
you're
I
absolutely
don't
right.
see anything that has happened with Trump other than it just being a joke.
right.
Whether he's hanging out with shitty people like Putin and Kim Jong Un, like to me as a young person, I try to think about that all the time. What it would be like if I was young going through this.
Young people are more.
I would think it's a fucking TV show, and politics is just another bullshit thing.
Oh, and also it's
It
easy
already
to think,
is, but
it's
you know
also
what I'm
easy to
saying?
think that it's a rigged game and that your vote doesn't matter and all this other stuff too.
That's the scariest part. Nobody thinks it's a goof. That's not the vibe with young people. They seem, from the outside looking in, they're mad as hell. They're very informed. Because I mean, if you're 18, we've been at war your whole life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people who are 18 to like 22, I feel like, are probably the most mad. Gen Z or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They seem the most politically active, in my opinion, because they don't think it is that like TV show kind of thing. But with the internet, there's so much more beyond that's going on that they're learning about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I also do. I think there are different motivations too, and there's that common proverbial saying. If you're under 35 and you're not a Democrat, you have no heart, and if you're not a Republican and over 35, you have no brains. I've been hearing that my whole life.
that's fucking stupid.
It's very stupid. It's very stupid. I think that what oftentimes motivates us when we're younger is the things that we value the most are a lot of times more social and a lot more, it's like the idea of I want an opportunity to have a free education. I want people that are poor to have an opportunity to better their lives, all this other stuff. And I think as people, oftentimes as people get older, I think they become disillusioned, but also they become very, very proud of the hard work and the money they've made. And so they now becomes more protect inward and care less about those outside of your circle. And I think that to call out one particular group of people, I think as a generalized statement, I think the baby boomer generation is the really, really defines us in a huge way because they were born in the most prosperous point in human history, or at least in American history, and want to hold on to that. They don't want their 401k being taxed differently. They want the market to do well. They want to retire in comfort. They want to buy that RV and move to Nashville. They want to do all the things that they've been promised for 40 years, and they're willing to fight like hell anyone else who they think they look at everything else as it's going to take that away. And I think, but if you're 19, if you're 25, your perception of wealth is so different than someone who has $4 million sitting in their 401k and is fighting like hell just to make it 4 more years to retirement. And I think that dramatically affects the kind of the pursuance of doing things for the greater good. Because there is a point in a lot of people's lives where it is turned inward.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It is fucked up. And I don't think that happens to everyone, but I think that is something that has happened over the last 40 years to one very specific group of people. And I think really since the Reagan era have really bought into this is that think how many times Trump talks about how good people's 401ks are doing. And
Oh no, I
That's all
understand.
my friend Paul ever brings up is his 401k is doing great.
I know
that is a huge selling point on a lot of Americans, and I think it's bullshit.
That's so foolish.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But
401k could be fucked in 3 days.
it could absolutely be fucked
Yeah,
in 3 days, and you know what? It'll probably recover too. So
Also probably true.
Yeah,
Didn't
so-
that happen earlier this year?
yeah.
Everyone's 401ks
March-
were like, whoa.
March 11th, I think everything went tits up. But
I like thinking about the future and what it means to retire. But man, there's this one philosophy I can't stand. Like a thing is just like spending your life worrying about the end. I'm gonna invest in it. We're gonna do it. But if you just spend all your time just talking about my 401k, shut up.
live life now. Too.
Live it right now. Do it.
Yeah.
Do you have one? Are you paying attention to it? Are you worried about it? But that should not be the basis of your decision on who we should pick for the president of the United States of America.
But one
because
particular-
it brings you some extra money when you're old.
No,
That's
but
stupid.
you nailed it. It's even beyond the 401k. It's just people. Listen, money.
It really makes me
A
angry.
platitude I do agree with is money corrupts.
Yeah.
It's not always the case, but it's the case enough times that like, it's like gambling. You're up enough, and then you're like, I could keep going, And that's, you get that same thing when you have money, because wealth is so hard to come by, despite there being so much of it.
See, okay. Can I interject with just my own like kind of 2 cents on that real quick?
Yeah.
I am fortunate. I do okay. I wouldn't consider myself wealthy, but I have enough money to be concerned about money in a different way than when you don't have any. I'll put it that way.
As a business owner.
As a business owner,
I mean,
and as an investor, and things like that. My perception of money is not much different than it was 20 years ago. I'm probably wiser. I look at it more intelligently, but I look at it as the same thing I looked at it when I was 12 and did my first, endeavor to go sell magic cards or something to that. It's a tool. It's a tool to get to where I want to go, and that's the only thing it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And some, and the more zeros that are in front of, the whole number, it's an indicator of success and a tool for more. But I think where I differ, and I think where a lot of our generations will differ, and this is speaking of at least millennials and younger, but maybe Gen X is in on this one too, is that we were never told we'd be okay. The boomers were sold an idea of work 30 years, go to college, work 30 years, retire, live out your days on a golf course. It was really sold that.
We were fed that. I was fed. Because anyone with boomer parents got taught that same thing, because ostensibly it was still supposed to be doable.
And see, I remember even being, I feel like I'm on the tail end, because I am like this weird cusp between Gen X and millennial, where I'm on the old end of millennial. And so I'm born in 1983. Whatever you want to call me, you can call me. I'm Sam Dean. Just call me that. The difference in what I started to feel after, I would say after 9/11, coming into the first financial crisis, right before 9/11, we had the .com bubble, and jobs started changing. The types of jobs, people started losing their jobs that they'd been at for 20 years because that industry just disappeared because of automation or some sort of computing solution. And I think the world I entered as an adult, a young adult, it did not have the security. It was very clear that there was not the security that I was told I would have if I followed the same path as those who came before me. And I think there was a really very interesting, and I think this will be studied 100 years from now. It's a very interesting period in history where for thousands of years, people didn't really have, either you went into a trade or you were agrarian or something like that. And this idea of a hyper specialization that started happening after World War II, where you are, I don't know, think of like Mad Men or any of that stuff, where all you do is fucking magazine marketing, advertising, or you do your cubicle work and your, whatever it might be, whatever your job is, insurance, underwriter, whatever. You do this one thing for a very, very long time, and then you retire and everything's good. You put in your time and all is well. And as I started to enter adulthood, I started seeing the people that were sold that on the old, the people that were just kind of on the tail end of that, losing everything at the tail end of a 30-year career due to the .com bubble, due to the crash on 9/11, and due to the financial collapse.
But also due to legislation that purposely did that.
No, not true at all. Wait, how does legislation have anything to do with people losing their 401ks in the stock market?
Well, I'm not talking about losing their 401ks in the stock market. I'm talking about beyond. I'm zooming out from that.
Okay.
Of like the inability to do the things that they still should have done, regardless of the .com bubble and things like that. Like, yes, that's a part of it, but also you mentioned Reagan, but then you haven't brought him up, and like all of those fiscal policies still reverberate now.
I agree.
And have
agree
like royally fucked things, and fucked things for people in the middle, who are the ones who work at the same job for 30 years. And when the New Deal was passed, which is what everybody then was like, cool, if I work and pay into this, and I have, I can be chill.
You're differentiating between Social Security and other retirement. I'm not talking about Social Security.
But Social Security is definitely tied into it, because people were losing their Social Security stuff too alongside their 401k.
No, nobody's lost the Social Security stuff. It might not have kept up with the pace of inflation, but it's not lost. And it actually, if you made good money, your Social Security is going to be decent, because it goes off your top 5 earning years. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, the whole point that I'm getting at with all of these crashes and anything that's the stock market related is that it scared the shit out of the people who were working these 30 years getting close to retirement, this baby boomer generation who are now in retirement or about to enter it, and they're fighting like hell to hold on to something because they were sold this for 30 years. What the fuck was the point of working at H&R Block for 30 fucking years if I get to the end and somebody fucked it up? Joe Biden, don't fuck it up. I'm voting Trump because he's not going to fuck it up. It's that mentality that's kind of permeates the end, and I think the thing that will hopefully or potentially keep the future generations or our generation from experiencing a lot of that hopefulness, I guess, is that like it was hope placed in the wrong thing. You can't just go to the casino and have a guaranteed win. And I think that everybody was sold that we'll never lose. And all the tumult that existed over that period of time made the people who had been fighting for that for so long so bloodthirsty that they just need to get to fucking retirement and start pulling a draw on their pension or their 401k or whatever it might be. That like the disinterest that you have in investing and market, the stock market in general of younger generations. Now that's picking up a lot with like Robinhood and things of that nature. But I think a lot of us on these younger generations we understood out of the gate, there's a lot higher likelihood we're going to have to go it on our own. Even the job ecosphere just doesn't feel like it did 50 years ago.
Jobs don't stick around forever.
Jobs don't stick around. And I think we all grew up with the understanding that like, hey, that's a job now, but I might be doing something completely different in 12 years. And, it's changed the perspective, I think, to a considerable sized cohort of these generations. I do still think plenty of people go to college with the intention of working that job for a very long period of time, and they think that their 401k will pay out big in the end. That might happen. Great for them. But I do think that there's a difference in understanding, like the reality, the paradigm that the baby boomers looked at the future of their life towards what the way we look at the future of our own is fundamentally different. And so I'm hoping that maybe backstops that sort of attitude of greed and self-preservation work as you work your way towards retirement. I hope that we have something better in place. I hope that we're already experiencing what that better thing is.
Because I feel like a lot of people kind of live their life now more than they did in the past.
I agree.
It was always about that vacation they're going to get when they retire and the house. I don't hear anybody talking about when they retire, really. You know what I mean? Like, as much as they did. I hear people talk about it, but the idea is I didn't live then, so I don't know what it's like.
Right.
But what do I have to see? It's old movies and old people that I've known in my life. Seeing all that, they always talked about retirement more than anything.
Yeah.
But everyone else, I don't hear them talking about retirement other than a 401k plan, and because that is like the last piece of that old world that kind of came over into the new generation of people. They kind of care about that too.
It's a great thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's all I ever hear about is 401k over retirement, which I could be wrong. Maybe, but do you guys feel that way too? Do you have friends that really talk about the idea of retirement?
No.
It's what can I do in 10 months when I get my...
I mean, the dark part, nobody I know who's younger than me, we all, as of right now, we're like, yeah, we're going to die working, which is fine. Yeah. It's whatever. The retirement thing, I think, was a very narrow window that gets too much play. Because, like, bless you, Mike.
Bless you, Mike.
Bless you, son.
A narrow window that gets too much play. Like, both of my parents come from farming families. Mm-hmm. No, my mom comes from a farming family, but my dad came from, like banks and grain elevators, like business, but agrarian business. There was never there's no retirement talk. You just work until you simply can't. And
or hope you have enough children to take over enough of the daily work until you die of a heart attack in the middle of a cornfield.
Right, or then you can finally oversee and not do the physical work or whatever. But then, even my dad's dad was like wore a suit and was a business guy and just dealt in agrarian business, but it wasn't a I don't think the retirement that seems like a later, that's like an 80s and 90s thing to me.
Okay.
I don't think of people in I don't know. That just seems, it's the Gordon Gekko bullshit. It's the 80s boom that happened.
No, I mean the boom in the 80s made everybody feel very good about their 401ks.
Yeah, everyone's like, because I think that's where it started. They were like, they basically, and it'll probably happen, you know what I mean? Like there was the big economic depression in the 70s. Mm-hmm. once we got out of that, things got so good, everyone kind of forgot on purpose, and then they were like, all right, let's put all our eggs in this gambling basket again. Like a 401k
I
thing,
definitely
401k
understand.
and stock market does not, like, if you are concerned about retiring, that seems like the worst way to plan it to me.
I disagree, but that's a whole nother episode.
Nicole's retirement plan is that she has fruit trees, and hopefully her house will be paid off before the robots take her job.
That's
Nice.
also viable. I'm either gonna die working, or a robot will assimilate me, and then I could be like a Cyberman from
I'm okay with it.
from Doctor Who.
Sure.
She also brings up that 401k is the long game that gets disrupted by bad players, and they never pay consequences. What we need to go after is the hedge funders who pump and dump. Everyone knows what they do.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. I also, there's all sorts of other stuff there. You could criticize the options markets and
I just don't think it's not necessary to worry so much about that when the government has the power and should have the inherent responsibility to take care of its citizens in that regard.
So I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. So I think both should and can exist.
I also do, but the fact that Trump's not saying your Social Security is going to be super good or whatever, because that's like a full lie.
Right. They've been saying that my entire
That's
life.
the issue. I don't give it.
Yeah.
If it's one of those things, like for me and for all the friends of mine that I know, like this is the first place I've ever had a 401k.
Right.
And I really don't. I'm not going to think about it unless I have it for long enough time that it seems like it's actually real.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even touch it until you're 59 and a half.
Yeah.
So it's just going to sit there, and if you get to a point where you ever need that at that age, then great, you got it.
Yeah, to me, it's more. I mean, there are all different ways to, weasel away money. Whether you want to do it old school and put it in cans and fucking mattresses and all that shit, or
That's a terrible idea. Please don't.
Don't
everybody
do that.
Yeah, don't do
I
that.
checked all my grandparents' mattresses, and there was holes in the bottom. So I was
Also,
like, someone took the
I'm not going to
money.
go on a complete huge.
wait, what? Huh?
Someone took the money. I don't know. It disappeared. I checked the mattresses. They weren't there.
I'm not going to go on a huge rant about this, but just to overcome just a simple misconception. The reason that having your money in something like a 401k broadly invested into index funds and mutual funds, blah 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 blah. The benefit to that is that the interest that you're gaining on that money is outpacing inflation. So if
you had $400 in made 20 years ago, 40 years ago, right?
Well, I know
that was a lot of money.
If you had, I believe the numbers, if you had $1,000 in it's either the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I don't remember which one, but I believe it's the Dow. If you had $100 or $1,000 in the Dow in 1970, you'd have $30,000 right now.
If you had it in a mattress, you'd have $1,000.
Exactly, and that money would have $1,000 would have been worth like 10 grand then, but only be worth 1 grand now.
Sure.
So it works in the opposite direction. So
I understand that.
We understand, but we also
Yeah.
explain to the other world that's watching.
And Nicole's fruit trees and house are a better investment than putting your money in a coffee can. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Sure. I don't think putting money in a coffee can is an investment, though.
No,
That's
but
just like, oh shit.
but it's also a depreciating asset the entire time because it'll lose 2% of value every year. So.
Money is fake. That is true.
Yes, and that's a conversation. We can talk about Keynesian economics if you want at some point in time, where talk about the manipulation of the markets and
That
manipulation
makes me
of currency.
sleepy just thinking about it.
Oh, it's riveting. John Maynard Keynes.
John, well,
we have a plug question. Can
Okay.
we take?
Yeah, what's up?
How long do you wait for my ears are at 14 gauge right now? How do I wait? How long do I have to wait for my next stretch?
I would just recommend that if you're going to go up to 12, hopefully you're not skipping sizes. But if you're going to go up to 12 and you're not experiencing any pain or itchiness, swelling, anything like that, usually is a pretty good time. And if you're really wondering, if you really want a timeline, usually for most people 6 weeks is a pretty fair one to be on this very safe side.
Yeah.
But yeah, no pain, no itching, no swelling. Usually a good time to go up. I recommend doing it in the shower when your skin is soft after you've cleaned and soaped up everything. Rinse off, pop it in there if you can. Don't force it, and live, laugh, love.
Thanks, Zachary, for your
Live, laugh,
question. We
plug.
also had someone named Mel Alzirez ask how much it would be for if anyone knows what lobe reconstructive surgery would cost. Because
That would be a good question. Sam Tennant, former Plug Your Holes employee, when he got his career as a diet, he's a professor of diet stuff. I don't know what he does really.
He's a dietitian?
Yeah, but he's the professor,
Oh, cool.
I believe.
That's
Yeah,
sick.
I'd have to call him and ask, but I know he did it. I think it was like a thing like his dad paid for. It was like a deal. Like
I think it was $1,000 an ear.
I think it's something like that. I know that like there's places where you can just get them sewn up and it's like $100 each.
Strangely, Mel has retracted that question. I've never seen that happen.
Oh, all right.
Well, we answered it though.
Maybe
Yeah,
they
yeah.
Googled it.
Fair enough.
Because I mean, I'm not Google. I always heard it was 1,000 for both ears.
Yeah.
I'm sure it depends on where you go.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, 1,000 for both
don't know.
ears or something like that.
It's
not that
plastic
much.
surgery, so it's it's whatever.
Yeah, and you want it done right, so you probably want to
Absolutely.
pay up a couple bones to get
Yeah,
it done.
you don't want to just get them sewn up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could. I know people have done that and it worked out.
Yeah.
My ears are small enough. If I ever do it, it'll probably.
Chris, the drummer of Bayside, he just had his sewn up a few years ago, and they look fine.
Yeah.
The,
It depends on your
Wow, what a
stretchiness of your ears and stuff.
What a betrayal! How dare you
Yeah, I don't know.
close your ears when you could be buying plugs
From
From
plugyourholes.com.
Yeah. Yeah, that very interesting topic. I'm really happy we went down this. This was not planned in any way, shape, or form, so I'm happy we kind of went down some.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the election, kind of at all.
I have
Yeah,
one
but
thing to
we
say about the
definitely talked about
election
the
of
symptoms
people
of it,
when we
you know.
end.
Yeah,
It's just that
I mean, there's specific elections. I mean, like, how are we all feeling? Positive?
I'm feeling all right.
I would say that the fact that it's 73 degrees outside is definitely an uplifting for my mood, considering the day of the year it is.
Sure.
But
So I can.
I would say that I'm politically optimistic.
Yeah.
For the results of this election. I hope that it is not the 79 days of hell that we've been warned about. I hope that this is a peaceful transition. I hope that everybody out there is safe, and if you're pro-Trump or pro-Biden, I just hope that that we all get a better America.
And just everybody tune out the noise and just trust the system. The system has to work. No matter what Trump says, no matter what Biden says about whether or not the votes are going to count in this. They've been doing this for years. There's always going to be problems.
This is the time.
But they're
to
not going to change the system. The idea that
Yeah.
what Trump said the other day about how he's going to declare himself winner if Pennsylvania takes too long, that's not the way the world works.
Oh, yeah, straight
it's
up.
not going to fucking work that way.
Don't even watch unless
Don't worry about it.
unless you're hyped on it or whatever. But if you're trying to avoid it, just don't even look at any results at all today,
Yeah.
or really probably this week. You can just learn. Eventually,
Somebody will tell you.
somebody will tell you when it's like for sure happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like it will
If
be.
you don't want to pay attention, you don't have to.
Yeah, as somebody.
It's just stressful.
As somebody who like came into the Bush Gore, that was kind of my introduction into
Woof.
politics nationally.
Woof.
It's a long drawn out election results are stressful, and I wasn't even all that bought into either candidate. I just was stressed because that's all you heard about for 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I hope that it is not that. I hope that we're all safe, and that this experiment in democracy continues to progress and experiment further.
Yeah. No more hanging chads, only hung chads.
Hung Chads, yes.
I hope
Yeah.
everybody watching
Dimple
really
Chads.
liked my hat.
I love your hat personally.
good look.
I really do. I think you need a matching blazer.
I was thinking more of a bandana and like a brown leather jacket, but
Well, that's very Indiana Jones.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what Katie keeps calling me is Indy. I mean, I saw it at the store and I was like, I like that hat. I want to wear it. Katie's like, go for it. So I got her a hat too. So we both have them. Not
You both
the
have the
same hat.
no, you
not
both-
the same
you both
hat.
have the
But
same
something-
hat.
She's got like
Like
a
a
floppy
classical.
like.
You've got the same hat. It's fine.
It's not the same hat.
It's
It's
okay.
different. It's a floppy
I don't
cowboy
need.
hat.
I don't need. That's
She's probably wearing it today.
that's not a cowboy hat.
No, it's not a cowboy
Partner.
Whatever.
hat. It's not a cowboy hat. I'll tell you that much.
That's more. That's Indiana Jones. You look like you're about to go raid a tome.
Yeah.
Which cool.
Let's go.
Anything to keep your mind off the craziness. You know, if you've already if you're watching now and you haven't voted, hopefully you get to vote today.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
That's the show, everybody.
that's the show.
Thanks for tuning in, or dialing in, or I don't know what you do on the internet. Not
Click.
that.
Thanks for clicking in.
Thanks for clicking in. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, you probably already have some sort of inclination of the results. And congratulations, or I'm sorry. And we'll see you next week when hopefully we know what America looks like for the next 4
When we
years.
figure out how the hell we got here.
Whoa.
Nailed it. Stick to landing. Bye, everybody.